Hey, this is Keith at Half Tracks and Honeybees. We're going to do a little something different today. I did a walkabout on the 1941 half track and the 1955 Army Jeep. Today we're going to do one on the hot rod of the bunch, my 1964 Fairlane. I got this car, which I affectionately call Granny Terrible, Granny for short. I got her back in, I guess around 2010. She was truly owned by a little old lady that just drove her to church on Sundays. She was bought new in 1964 from a lady or by a lady in Jasper, Alabama. And she kept her whole life until she passed away. At that point, the car came up to her relatives, I guess, in Greenville, North Carolina. They put the car on eBay, and that's how I purchased it. I had a friend that was actually going down to Greenville to a wedding, and I had him just put his trailer behind his truck, and on his way back he picked the car up and brought her home to me. That was the first time I'd seen her in person. I bought her sight unseen except for the photos on eBay. But anyway, she was in pretty rough shape. She had been setting outside, sitting in a barn, I'm not sure. She was full of pine needles, wouldn't run. She originally came with a 260 V8 with a 3-speed on the column, if you know what that is, you old timers. After I got her, I took and pulled out the 260, and I built a hot little 289 and put in her, and also replaced the 3-speed on the column with a 4-speed top loader in the floor. Went through all the mechanicals, new radiator, new gas tank, all new brakes, bearings, put a posi unit in the rear end, changed the gears to a 350. And she's a pretty hot little car. It's a lot of fun driving her. She is a 4-door, which that turns off some folks, but being a 4-door, that enabled me to get her for a really good price. So it made for an inexpensive toy, and I have a lot of fun with her. But we'll do a walkabout, and I'll talk a little bit about her. She don't have as many cool things as the military stuff does, but she's still a pretty cool old car. So here we go. Like I said, she's a 1964 Ford Fairlane. This is the original paint, red with a white top. Obviously, I cleaned her up, but I didn't buff her out, wax or anything. I like the way the patina looked. I had this old license plate. Some of y'all might remember George Wallace, but he ran for president out of Alabama back in 1968, so I thought it was the perfect license plate for this old car. I'd had it for years and didn't know what to do with it, and it was perfect. So like I said, she's a 4-door. It did come with a little 260 in it originally. That engine I'll show you right here. It's on a stand in my shop, and I've gone through it and replaced all the valve springs with light springs and done a lot of work, cleaned up the inside. And now the grandkids, when they grow up a little bit and want to play with something mechanical, they can disassemble that engine all the way down to a short block and put it back together again and have a lot of fun with it. And I guess I can too if I want to. But still got all the chrome on the sides. You can see this fancy interior. It had been setting out for a long time, so it was cracked up pretty bad. So I did what any good redneck would do. I found some red duct tape and fixed her right up. You can see the interior. We've got an AM radio, and I found a FM converter. If y'all can remember what that is, y'all, any of you old timers remember how that worked? But still got the original headliner. Dome light works. Back seat's actually in pretty good shape. Notice no seat belts back there. All you got up here is some lap belts. But all the gauges work. I added a couple of gauges, a tack, red line at about 6,500, and an oil pressure gauge, a mechanical gauge, so I can make sure everything's good there. You can still see where the old oil change stickers were stuck on. Some of y'all might remember those. There's one, Motorcraft. But you can see the back seat is still in pretty decent shape. But you can see she's set out for a lot of years. Look how the carpet is bleached, and where that seat belt was laying down, you can see it's still the original color. So she laid outside for a long time at some point. You remember it's got the old cars have two keys. You gotta have one to start it, one for the trunk. You can see back here, I told you she was owned by a lady out of Jasper, Alabama. Well, now it says Asper, Alabama, because I knocked the J off sometime. Not sure when that happened. You can see the bumper looks kind of rough. Somebody was yanking her around at some point. Not really sure what happened there. The trunk, aside from being humongous, that's the original mat that was in the trunk. It's got the original spare tire wheel. That's not the original tire. I've got the tire, but it was cracked up so bad I didn't want to use it. It was like an old 714 or something like that, but it did have all the original bumper jack and the stand and the lug wrench and everything. But you can see, when I pull up at a stoplight, people look at me kind of funny because the car looks pretty, it looks pretty stock. Now I did put 15-inch wheels on it. I've got the little red 14s that came on it originally. You'll see those in some of the pictures that I post later in the video. It had red wheels on 14-inch. Well, they were 14-inch wheels and had little center hubcaps that went on them. I've still got all that. But you will see one little telltale sign there's something going on here. The exhaust pipe sticking out in front of the rear wheel. If she was just sitting still, that might give somebody some idea that something was going on here. So let's pop the hood. And you can see that's not the original engine in here. Like I said, that's a little 289 that I built. Let's see, flat top 10-to-1 pistons. It's got a comp cams drivetrain for the valves. A competition cams Magnum 280 hydraulic cam. I did change it over to a dual master cylinder from a single. It's got trick flow aluminum heads, Edelbrock intake, a 650 double pumper Holly on it, K&N air filter you can see. It's got Doug Thorley tri-Y headers. And it's actually a pretty hot running little car. Let's fire it up and let y'all hear it. So yeah, it's got a pretty good lick to it. The mufflers on it are little racing mufflers. They're pretty much a straight pipe, but they kind of look like a glass pack. I think they got a spiral inside of them. But the engine's been balanced. Rev's great. And she's a pretty fun little car to drive. I went through all the suspension, added a bigger sway bar on front, new shocks, different springs. So she actually handles real flat. You get her on a nice curvy smooth road and she'll surprise you. So anyway, I'll put a few shots here at the end, take you through some of the work I did on her. And she was a good little project. Like I said, I got her back in 2010. And so I've had her for 13 years, I guess. Don't seem like that long, but time flies. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I'm parked up here on our farm in front of my great aunt and uncle's little farmhouse. This was an old log house that they moved from across the creek. And my great aunt and uncle moved in it, I guess back in the 40s. So it's been here for, gosh, what's that, 80 years? But it's older than that, you know, being it was a log house and moved. And I think there was somebody here longer ago than that. Because you've got these old cedar trees out here. And based on the diameter of those trees, they're about 140, 150 years old. And they were planted at a homestead. They didn't just grow here in the middle of nowhere. Over here, this used to be a old wood-fired tobacco barn. The barn part, the story that I've heard, the log barn blew away back when Hugo came through. I think that was back in late 80s. So all that's left now are the fireboxes where you used to put the wood in to heat the tobacco barn. And that's all that's left of the old barn besides the foundation. So anyway, but yeah, you can see how big that cedar tree is at the bottom. That's a giant. So I hope you enjoyed that. I enjoyed making it. It's a great little car. You should consider getting a 4-door if you want to fix up something. You can get it cheaper, you can fix it up, have a good time, and you don't have a fortune invested. So anyway, that's it for today. Appreciate you tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did and you like my channel, please hit that like button and subscribe. Remember to always take time to enjoy the buzz, and we'll catch you next time. Getting a little gas in Granny. It is a bit expensive. Ouch. I got Granny out for a ride.